Hey everyone, and welcome to Into the Deep. Today we're diving into a story that's part true crime, part political drama, and part paranormal conspiracy rabbit hole. It's the story of a serial killer who hunted couples in the hills of Florence for well over a decade, always at night, always with the same gun, and always disappearing like smoke in the wind. That's right, we're talking about the Monster of Florence, a real-life Italian horror story that makes the Zodiac Killer, Jack the Ripper, and the True Detective all look like light reading. So grab your flashlight, make sure your door is locked, and let's get into this one. Our story begins not with a couple, but with a woman. Barbara Locke, 32-year-old, a mother of a 6-year-old boy. On August 21st, 1968, Barbara drove out with her lover, Antonio Lobianco, 29, to a secluded spot near Signo, outside the city of Florence in Italy. They were found dead in their small Fiat 500, both shot at close range with a .22 caliber pistol. But here's the first mystery in this long, drawn-out case. Barbara's husband, Stefano Mele, confessed to the murder, but his story was full of contradictions. At times he claimed he acted alone. Other times, he hinted that he had accomplices. His confession flipped so many times, it quickly lost credibility to both the police and investigators. The case seemed open and shut for investigators at the time. Stefano was sentenced to 14 years, but the same gun he supposedly used was linked to several other murders in the surrounding areas in Tuscany, Italy, which raises serious questions. Did he really do it, or was he thrown underneath the bus by someone else to take the blame for their crime? While Stefano sat rotting in his prison cell, 13 years had passed, all the way to June 6, 1981. Giovanni Foggi and Carmela Di Nocio, a young couple parked in a car near the small town of Scanda City near Florence. Giovanni was 30 and Carmela just 21 years old. They were found shot dead inside the car. Carmela's body was dragged out and her genitals removed post-mortem with a sharp knife. This detail shocked the public. This was not a simple murder, but a full-on ritual. Less than 5 months later, October 22nd, 1981, Stefano Baldi and Susanna Cambi. Susanna, just 24 years old, was similarly mutilated post-death. Their murder was almost identical. Shots fired while the couple was in the act of intimacy, and then post-mutilation to the female victim. We have another jump again in our timeline of murders. June 19, 1982. Paolo Menardi and Antonella Migliorini. This killing is perhaps the most disturbing. Paolo and Antonella were in their car, a favorite lover's lane spot near Florence. The killer shot Paolo multiple times, but he didn't die immediately. He tried to drive away and escape the killer, bleeding out behind the wheel. When he failed, Antonella was pulled from the car, mutilated, her genitals removed. Locals claimed to have seen a shadowy figure watching the couple in the days prior to the murder, as if the killer had been stalking them. Sadly, this wasn't the end of this gruesome crime spree plaguing the city of Florence. September 9, 1983, Wilhelm Friedrich Horgen and Jens Rusch. A major anomaly in this case so far. These were both two male tourists from Germany. They were found shot and killed near a secluded road outside Florence. Why were two men targeted, you say? Some say one of the victims appeared to be a female, confusing the killer. Others claim this proves that more than one killer was involved, and their MOs did not match up with each other, and they were attacking at random for no reason. We then, unfortunately, have another large jump in our timeline. Now we jump to July 29th, 1984. Claudia Stefanacci and Pia Rotini. Claudia, 21, and Pia, 18, were parked outside Florence on a nearby lover's lane when they were attacked. Pia was dragged out of the car and mutilated in a savage, precise manner, just like our previous female victims. Police theorized at this point that the genital mutilations were a trophy ritual. Some speculated a twisted desire to destroy the symbol of love and intimacy. And that might explain why he'd been attacking lovers' lanes instead of just picking his targets on random streets inside the city. Now we can jump to September of 1985. Law has theorized for many years that this may have taken at the night of September 7th or September 8th. Jean-Michel Krevinicheville and Nadine Marat, the last known victims of the Monster of Florence. They were camping in a remote area outside the city. After killing both, we see the same pattern of mutilation on Nadine that had happened to the previous female victims. What set this murder apart is Jean tried to escape. Frantically, he ran through the darkness before sadly dying 30 feet from their tent. After this killing, the murder stopped. And the reason for that, we may never know, and it can be something that we can only theorize about. With 8 double homicides on their hands now, over the course of 17 years, let's see how the police investigated this crime. With a consistent weapon, a .22 caliber Beretta with a custom filed trigger, the police would have caught the killer, right? If you thought that, you'd be surely mistaken. The investigation was a complete mess. The police arrested, if you remember, Stefano Mele in 1968, possibly the wrong man. In the early 1990s, they arrested Pietro Pacina, a local farmer with a criminal record. He fit the profile, a rough, violent man living near the scenes of the crime. Pacini's trial was a media circus. Initially convicted in 1994, he was acquitted in 1996 on appeal. The evidence was mostly circumstantial. There was no murder weapon, there was no DNA, and only a suspicion of guilt. After Pacini's arrest, the police began looking in different directions. They started looking to see if they had the real man in custody originally, and they were just looking for accomplices. They claimed Pacini was part of a satanic sex cult with 2 elderly friends, Iacerone Lodi and Mario Vanni. This theory, while lightly speculative, based on unproven rumors and circumstantial evidence, end quotes. After this, the story went cold, up until the late 2000s, where journalists Douglas Preston and Mario Spezzi investigated the case independently and uncovered massive amounts of police corruption, manipulation of evidence, and intimidation. Spezzi was arrested on charges of obstructing justice, and Preston was forced to flee Italy for safety. The investigation became a tragic farce. Innocent people were jailed, and the real killer, if there was ever just a single one, slipped away to the cracks of time, never to be seen again. Now let's look into some theories of who may have committed this crime. Theory 1. A lone psychopath. Could it have been Stefano Mele? Could it have been Pacini? You may never know. The killer, if it was one man, was meticulous, expert with firearms, and stalked the countryside. He knew the best spots, and he knew how to disappear without a trace and without ever being seen again to this day. Theory 2. A cult or group. Some believe that the murders were ritualistic, carried out by a cult of elites or voyeurs who used the killing as dark rites of passage. The genital mutilations, methodical shootings, and the removal of bodies suggest premeditation and possibly multiple perpetrators involved in the scenes. Theory 3. Copycats. Because the gun was allegedly used in multiple killings, and some victims don't fit the profile, some speculate several unrelated killers mimic the original crimes. So good. This means Stefano may have killed his wife and her lover, and then someone copied him, and someone copied him, and someone copied him, and someone copied him, on and on and on, up until the end of it, in 1985. Theory 4. Police or officials involved. Some evidence suggests law enforcement protected the killer or killed us to avoid scandal. Just remember all that corruption that had been going on at the time that even forced some journalists to flee the country. Some witnesses reported seeing police at crime scenes destroying evidence. These claims are just superficial and don't really have a lot of evidence to back it up. Fortunately for the town of Florence, after 1985, the murder stopped. No one has been convicted of all 8 double homicides. The Monster of Florence has entered the realm of legends, sparking novels, movies, and a cult of armchair detectives on the internet who are trying to figure out who caused these crimes. For Florence, though, it's a scar that refuses to heal and will forever plague the city because no answer has ever come out. So that's the Monster of Florence, a case of ritualistic terror, flawed justice, and unanswered questions. Maybe the killer is dead. Maybe the killer was never caught. Maybe he was caught, but the stories and the victims remain in our hearts and our minds. Thanks for watching. If you want more on this case or other strange true crimes, let me know. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and maybe think twice before parking in a dark, lonely place with just you and your lover.